Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. And salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick lesson. And for today's lesson is on the screen. It says, Hast thou a little, right? And this is just a rough paraphrase of a precept I borrowed from the book of Tobit, and I'm just going to touch on a little about in regards to alms. It was based on a conversation I was just having with a brother, and sometimes we might sometimes our brethren would might go through we do go through stuff, but the point really is sometimes situations might come up where a brother actually would need some sincere help, and I guess what I really wanted to do is touch on I guess one, the importance of it, two, and how to go about actually doing so and the benefits of actually doing so, right? Um so what I'll do actually, I'll start off with this first precept here. Okay, this is First Peter's chapter 4. I'll start at verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. And be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer, right? So, we're at a stage, with, different prophecies that are popping off, right? And, when Esau comes out with his great wrath, like it says in Revelation 12, because he has a short time, there are going to be situations that some of us, our situations are going to drastically change, right? And some of us might be a little bit more even right now, there are some of us brethren that are a little bit more well off than others, right? And that just is an opportunity for us to actually try and help out one another in times of need, right? Even right now, rehearsing those righteous acts, but even more, that will be something very, very important, especially in times to come as well. um Verse 8, and it says, above all things have fervent charity amongst yourselves, for charity shall cover a multitude of sins, right? And one thing I wanted to point out is the fact that charity is not limited to money. For this case, I'm strictly kind of like focusing on the I guess the tangible portion, but charity can also be lending someone your ears as well, right? And lending someone your time, to actually do something. And you may not be I guess some of us may not be in a situation where we have lots of money to give, right? But the important thing is that also can count as charity, as well as really what we do every weekend and week out. Really, that, if you really think of it, that is charity, because the scriptures do say, come ye and buy without money and without price, but our people, they spend money for things which is not bread and that satisfies them not, to roughly paraphrase, right? And they drink from broken cisterns, right? So really and truly, for us being out there on the highways and on byways, excuse me, is a form of charity, right? Because that covers a multitude of sins, like it says here. For charity shall cover a multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging, right? And that's also very, very important too, because you don't really want to give something and you hold some kind of like contempt, some kind of grudge, some kind of like like an evil eye towards one of your brethren, right? And because what's the point of giving it in the first place, right? And scriptures say that in the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, I believe, it says that wisdom cannot dwell in a spirit that, that has that malice, that has that, as a matter of fact, let me get that word malice just so we can bring some more understanding there. Okay, so malice here, it says desire to hurt another, propensity to inflict injury or suffering, active ill will, spite, sinfulness, wickedness, badness, ill will, spite, bad, unpleasant. It actually goes back to the word mal in French, meaning bad. That's the root. Um, like, how in English people say, like, somebody, like a doctor, for example, is practicing, is malpractice, right? That's bad practice. Malnutrition, bad nutrition, hopefully that makes sense. Bad, unpleasant design or intention of doing mischief to one another without justification or excuse, right? So that is that's one of the things you don't want to have while giving alms, if you're in a situation to do so, right? And as a matter of fact, let me just keep going. Hopefully, this all is piecing together and adding up together. Let's get the Apocrypha. Slack. Let's get Matthew actually. Okay, this is Matthew chapter 6. Oh, no, this is all good. Okay, I'll start at verse 1, but I'll read down to 5. This kind of goes into praying as well, but it also touches on the on alms as well. So this is Matthew 6 verse 1, and it reads, "And Yahushua said, Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them, otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites in the synagogues and in the streets, as that they may have glory of men. Verily, I say unto you, they have their reward," right? And this precept actually reminds me of a situation I went through earlier this week at work, because there's these I work with a few I work with a few Muslims, and a lot of these Muslims like to pray in public. And that's the part that, and I was having a conversation with a worker in regards to this, because you know um one of the things they like to do is kind of, like, I guess, show off their signal sorry there's a term in the world called virtue signaling, and that's one of the things I find that, that really kind of irritates me about these people, because they like to show off that they pray, X amount of times a day, and they're always, praying and this and that and whatnot. And I think there was one time I was at work, and there was the door was open essentially, and the guy was praying, and I saw him praying, like, you're gonna have to close the door, man. Goodness gracious. But I just thought that was very, very interesting, because it's one thing for a person to be virtuous, abiding by the law, statutes, and commandments. It's another thing for you know um show off their virtuous behavior, essentially, like, I did this today, like, no one needs to know that. Like, the Lord sees everything. So verse 3, and it says, "But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth," right? So not letting other people, there's really no need to let other people know and making a grandiose announcement. One thing, that's a lot of things that a lot of celebrities do, for example, is that they like to make an announcement of all the alms that they did. They gave a donation to this person and that person. And that's essentially that's what it means when it says sounding a trumpet, right? Because you want other people to take notice for what you did, right? But if you're really spiritual, because a lot of our people are not, a spiritual man would understand that, okay, the Lord actually saw what I did, so um verse 4, and it says that thy alms may be in secret, and thy father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. But when thou prayest, thou shalt be as the hypocrites, for they love. Actually, that's the point. I'll just start about verse 4. When that thine alms may be in secret, and thy father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly, right? So you will get your reward, because you're not broadcasting. That's not the point of actually doing it, because if that's the case, then there's no need of doing the alms in the first place, right? So moving on. Let's see. Actually, bear with me 1 second. Okay, Salakia brothers, and I just wanted to take a couple pictures of something I really wanted to bring out and show you, brothers, in regards to this point about alms, and if you the type of person that has a little. Anyways, let's jump down to the Apocrypha. That's where I wanted to go to next. Okay, this is Tobit chapter 4. I'll start at verse 7 actually. It says, give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious, neither turn thy face away from any poor, and the face of the Most High shall not be turned away from thee. Oh my dear, wow. Yeah, so that's and that's something me personally, that I think about that too sometimes, because sometimes I'll be in a situation, like you have the opportunity to do so, and then sometimes you think about your situation as well, because you might be going through something, but it's so important, to constantly be spiritual about a lot of these situations, especially when people come and ask you for help specifically, right? Especially when it comes to seeing people on the street, so on and so forth, right? I remember my elder was doing a lesson in regards to Hebrews, and he was making the point of be not essentially to be not forgetful to entertain strangers unawares, right? So this is something to be mindful of, right? Because we represent the Lord, right? We represent Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? So that's always something to always keep in mind, right? um Verse 8, and it says that when thou have abundance, give alms accordingly. If thou have but a little, but not be not afraid to give according to that little, right? So if you made, a lot of us, in the ministry, we don't have glamorous jobs, if I'm being honest, right? And speaking for myself as well, we don't have the most prestigious jobs, nor do we desire to have a bunch of prestigious jobs. But the point is, and I know some of us do, but if some of us don't, and we're in a situation where you don't have a lot, right? And an opportunity comes up to give something, don't be, I don't know, the flesh kind of sometimes might take over, and this and that and whatnot. But I guess the key point is to always remember to constantly be spiritual about a lot of these situations that come up as well, right? Don't be afraid to give according to the little that you have, right? Because scriptures say that um, riches profit not in a day of wrath, but righteousness can deliver from death, right? So something just to a couple nuggets to keep in mind, right? Okay, verse 9, it says, for thou layest up good treasure for thyself against the day of necessity, right? And that's so true, because we can be, our situations can drastically change, especially when, like I was saying earlier, when Esau really comes down with that great wrath. Then those are going to be the days of like necessity when we really, really, really need to like, cash out on, those spiritual treasures that, we've been storing up essentially, right? So think of it that way, right? Think of it like, okay, there's a term in the world called like rainy day money, right? You save it for a rainy day. Like, okay, so we know, a storm is coming, right? So, we storing up spiritual treasures, essentially. Like it says in Matthew, lay up your treasures in heaven, right? So, verse 10, it says, because that alms do deliver from death and suffereth not to come into darkness. For the alms is a good gift unto all that give it in the sight of the Most High. Right? So, there's some key things to like keep in mind, right, in regards to the importance of it. When an opportunity does arise, because we bear each other's burdens, and sometimes our brethren, some of our brethren will fall upon situations and things like that and whatnot. We all have our own measure of tribulation, but we don't compare our tribulation, number one. And number two is to, if an opportunity arises, remaining to be, always good to always a good reminder to be spiritual about these situations, right? So, um, anyways, I'll stop. Okay, I'll stop right here. Let me jump to Mark. So just bear with me on this. I'm gonna bring on a little bit of history on this as well. So just bear with me. As a matter of fact, let me read this in the NLT as well. Mark. Okay, Mark chapter 12, verse 41. And so I'm reading NLT. It says, and Yahushua sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people many rich people put in large amounts. Verse 42, it says, when a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins, Yahushua called the disciples to him and said, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions. For they gave a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on. Wow. So, she gave, she gave, it's like the scripture says, she gave without grudging, right? She gave without actually, kind of giving it like a second thought, right? She gave all that she had. The point I really wanted to kind of touch on as well is verse 42, where it says, I'm reading in the KJV, and it says, and there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing, right? And I have with me in my hand right now the Bible compact dictionary. So I just wanted to read what a mite is, just to bring some more clarity to this precept. And I want to show a picture, so just bear with me on this. Okay, so this is, one second, just bear with me. So let me make sure I got the right thing. So the mite, okay, so this is page 372 in the Bible dictionary. It's also known as a lepton. Okay, so it says here, during pre-Roman times under the Maccabees, 175 to 140 BC, the Jews for the first time were allowed to issue money of their own. One piece was the lepton, a tiny bronze or copper, just give me one second, copper coin, which we known as the widow's mite, right? In the same account I'm reading right now, it says lepton was translated mite, M-I-T-E, because it was the coin of least value among the coins. Even the metal was inferior and deteriorated easily. The coin should really be the penny, not the denarius, right? And so the denarius, just so there's no confusion, the denarius is a silver coin used during the time of the Roman Empire, and this was a coin that was actually of greater value. So just as I was reading here, the mite or the lepton, it was the coin of least value, right? So just imagine the kind of um uh just put into simple terms, like you could think of it as like a literal like penny, essentially, like what we have today, right? And it's not a coin that has a lot of like a tremendous amount of value. Like the metals were just, it was just very inferior. Whereas, for example, the denarius actually had, it was actually comprised of predominantly silver until about, I think it was around 64 AD, when like Nero began to debase the value of the currency itself, right? But that's a whole lesson for another day. But the point really is might inferior, denarius more superior, right? And what was I gonna do? Where was I gonna go? Right. So just to bring more um understanding to that precept. So the woman didn't have a lot. She didn't have much, to be honest, right? She gave, essentially everything that she had, right? As opposed to the people who had enormous amounts of wealth, right? It shows great faith that she continued to give despite the fact that she had very little, right? So she didn't give, she gave, A, without grudging, and B, without malice, essentially, right? So this is something very important that the Hawashai wanted to, point out to the disciples, right? So, anyways, I'll leave it there, but hopefully this brings a little bit more clarity as opposed to, alms. Oh, Salakia. Let me just. I just want to show this picture because they had this in the book. Okay, so on the screen here. So hang on. Let me just go back to the page. I'm just going to read the caption. It says, as a matter of fact, let me make this bigger so you can see. Okay, so it says the coins of Bible times. It says the top is the tetradrachma of Ephesus. The second row was the tridrachma of Corinth. The third row was the Greek tetradrachma or the shekel of Tyre. The fourth was the widow's mite, the lepton, and the fifth row was quadrans or farthing. Okay. Okay, so the fourth row is just an illustration of what the widow actually used when she casted in, her, I guess you can call it like a donation, right? And so, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to give you like a description and show you, okay, what just to give an idea and add some visuals to that particular account in the gospel, right? So anyways, I'll close it off here. I didn't want to make the lesson too long, but I really and sincerely hope that this was edifying, and want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, Till next time, I say Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.